Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Majelle and welcome to the first episode in a little mini series I call the Aesthetics Battle of the Aesthetics. I haven't decided on the name yet. So guys, for today's video, I'm gonna be looking and comparing, contrasting two different very popular aesthetics, my two personal favorite aesthetics, putting them head to head in three different categories, and at the end of the video, deciding which one reigns supreme. I genuinely don't know which categories will win. I am just doing this completely based on my personal opinions and completely based on like my preferences for the three different categories. I don't even know, as I'm saying this now, which one will come out on top in the end. But the aesthetics we're doing with today is the very summery, beautiful, peaceful, romantic cottagecore and the dark library candle in the window of a colder, dark winter's night. Dark Academia. Guys, those are my two personal styles. You can kind of see in this dress that I'm wearing now. I am very much a cottagecore in the summer, and the second it reaches fall, I am Dark Academia to my core. So I adore these so much. So what I'm gonna do for this video then is split it up. First, I'll give you a bit of a description on what each of the aesthetics is. I actually got a lot of my information from this one sort of aesthetics wiki page. So thank you, that aesthetics wiki page, for being in existence. I will link it below so that you guys can do a huge deep dive. There was everything on that website, from the history, the conception of it, to music you can listen to really embody that aesthetic. If you guys are completely unaware of what aesthetics are, they are really just the essence and the vibe of having, my marketing brain wants to call it like a brand for yourself. It is the atmosphere that you give off to other people. It is the way you want to dress. It is the way that you want to live your life and your lifestyle and your hobbies. And a lot of those aesthetics are attributed to major things in media, which draws in the Dark Academia versus the cottagecore, who, though we now have words for them, has been different art history moments and different literature moments and stuff like that, just a different tone. I want to go with the word tone. Before aesthetics was invented, tone was what we had on before that. I'm gonna read to you what the description for the cottagecore category is. Cottagecore, also known as farmcore and countrycore, is inspired by a romanticized interpretation of Western agricultural life. It is centered on ideas of simple living and harmony with nature. Themes associated with cottagecore include self-sufficiency, baking, and caring for people. And in contrast, we have a very different one for Dark Academia. The description for Dark Academia is simply, Dark Academia is an aesthetic that revolves around classic literature, the pursuit of self-discovery, and general passion for knowledge and learning, but with a darker tone to it. So what I'm gonna do first is talk about some major literature and hobbies as I move into my first category. I feel like telling you about the literature, movies, the media that represents this sort of aesthetic really sort of brings in mind, like if you had not heard about cottagecore before, which maybe you haven't and you're watching this video, then it's at least gives you an idea of what, like, it brings to mind a lot of things if you see it as a commonality in a lot of these movies or literature and things like that. I'm gonna start with some popular movies for cottagecore. A big one I found was The Sound of Music, any Studio Ghibli films, especially My Neighbor Totoro, and many early Disney films such as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Sleeping Beauty, and anything that gives that sort of romantic olden days vibes. Some really popular literature that I came across that really exemplify cottagecore is some Jane Austen novels, especially Pride and Prejudice, The Secret Garden, and of course Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So a lot of these movies sort of have the same vibe. They really care a lot about the feelings involved and the vibes involved. The color schemes actually don't differentiate too much in between films and in between senses of it. They bring out a lot of pastels, they bring out a lot of joyful feelings, and especially with something like Studio Ghibli, and it has been known to be a major part of cottagecore. It really cares a lot about the sort of enjoying the everyday moment, enjoying the calm, enjoying the peace in simple things. Like Studio Ghibli does it really well. Like if you're cooking, just paying more attention and romanticizing that cooking, romanticizing your life in the way that cottagecore does. On the flip side of that, I'm going to compare with the Dark Academia. Guys, the literature and the movies for Dark Academia is very much in essence of having that tone. So you really see a lot of the dark tones, a lot of libraries and very romanticized academic moments. So some of the films that have come up when I'm doing my research is Dead Poet Society, Kill Your Darlings, The Riot Club, and this one is both film and literature. And Harry Potter, a lot of Harry Potter, it goes into Dark Academia, just in the sort of filter that they put over all of their movies is very dark. I find that both of these aesthetics sort of have a magical sense to them, but the darker magic and the maybe witchcraft that is involved in Dark Academia is a bit different than the witchcraft that is a bit more about picking each plant and picking each recipe for your like witchy stew for cottagecore. Then again, maybe that's dabbling into witchcore, and maybe that's for another video. So for this very first category, and based entirely on my opinion and nothing else other than that, I think Dark Academia is gonna win. I mean, it is literally in the description for academia that I think that Dark Academia and reading and writing. The literature for Dark Academia is actually some of my favorite literatures. It is one of my favorite books that I actually finished the other day is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. It is also Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and it is, of course, Harry Potter, as I kind of mentioned before. So now when we compare the two categories, we could definitely see the difference in sort of like a bright, joyous tone, very calm and happy, versus the dark sense of Dark Academia, and I mean it more in the dark, like the dark overtones, of course, in the colors that are being used, but the dark sense in the actual subject material tends to be a lot more darker, tends to be grittier and make more thought-provoking, tends to not really have happy endings. And of the two, my personal preference, based entirely on opinion and nothing else other than that, is that I enjoy Dark Academia literature movies more because they are giving me something I don't want. They are making me uncomfortable. I was recently reading The Secret History. It's my first time picking it up the other day, and I have to recommend that book to everybody. It is entirely messed up. You are there for a murder and you are okay with it, and bad things happen and you just go along for the ride. And I was very intrigued. Whereas when I'm thinking of the literature and the movies, when it comes to cottagecore, those are very feel-good. No matter what, you're gonna leave being happy for the most part. The sound of music, very joyous, and it brings up a huge bout of nostalgia, I find. So yes, cottagecore films and movies are great, especially if you are someone who is very deeply into Jane Austen and her works. It is very perfect, sort of flowery, joyous vibes. But in this category, I do have to give it my first score to Dark Academia. Guys, the next category that I'm gonna move into here is Hobbies and Lifestyle. I just feel like this is a good one to talk about, and maybe I should have talked about it before I talked about literature and movies, but this is a good one to talk about just because it gives you a really good sense of the vibe and the meaning behind the two different aesthetics. So the first aesthetic I'm going to talk about is cottagecore. There has been a huge stress with cottagecore, and the reason why it was so popular in 2020 was going back to the simple things in life, a very peaceful sense of living. It's almost like a meditative state that you go in when you are doing sort of cottagecore-ish activities. A lot of them involve baking, painting, writing, involves very romanticized versions of those things. So maybe you're painting, but you're listening to some music along the way. You are laying down in a garden and you are reading a book of poetry. You have bees around you and flowers around you. You're baking bread at home. These are very wholesome activities. These are very cottagecore activities. A big thing that goes alongside cottagecore is living in like rural countryside, especially in England. It's actually funny because these two aesthetics go hand in hand with being in the UK. I find that cottagecore especially is the rural parts of the UK. It is that stream alongside a little farmhouse. It is waking up in the morning, milking your goats, picking your flowers, and baking your bread. So those are the hobbies attributed to that. Another thing that really is stressed in cottagecore is the cottage side of things. So a lot of it is being around nature, connecting with, if you guys have read The Goddesses of Every Woman, connecting with the Artemis side of yourself, and really being in tune with the animals around you, specifically since it is cottagecore, more woodland creatures such as deer and bunnies and things like that. So cottagecore overall, even just talking about it, is very wholesome. In contrast, we have the hobbies that tend to come with Dark Academia. Dark Academia really romanticizes, especially in the books like Secret History or the movie like The Riot Club. It is very romanticized about living that rich, scholarly life. It is all about being that rich kid, or maybe being the poor one who's thrown into a group of rich kids who get to see their way of life and their way of living and see and just compare how toxic it is in comparison to the normal everyday life. And it really romanticizes this sort of old money factor and these scholarly people who usually end up going to a very nice school, Oxford, Yale, and doing bad things in the name of pursuit of knowledge. It's usually a study of human behavior, whereas cottagecore almost doesn't really have that sort of contrast. Like it's a lot more talking about the peaceful side of human nature, and getting out of human nature, whereas Dark Academia is a lot more about trying to understand human nature, and a lot of these novels that center around it tend to just be on how far we can really push the boundaries of being a good human or not. So a lot of the specific hobbies is, of course, with the word academia in there. It's a lot of reading. It is the stress of the pursuit of knowledge and the sort of romanticized reading books by candlelight, reading nonfiction for the sake of learning something. I think studying the classics is something that comes up quite a bit in Dark Academia. It is coffee shops in the rain. And a big one is just simply being drunk and engaging in really deep conversations and really deep chats. So there are a few creative hobbies that you can have alongside this too. Calligraphy is a big one. Bookbinding, embroidery, really dark hobbies. You want to be doing these by candlelight. You do not want to have this in the bright of day. They're almost a secretive nature to your Dark Academia hobbies. So between the two, in the terms of which one wins, I have to say I do love a good pursuit of knowledge. I think there's something really cool about discussing the themes of Dark Academia and the themes of human nature. I do love that, but does a really good deep conversation beat out the way you feel when you are sitting in a garden reading a book and just the wind is softly brushing against you, the sun is hitting you in the right way? I'm giving this one to cottagecore because cottagecore really wins when it comes to hobbies. I almost feel like cottagecore itself is great style-wise, which is my next category, but I do think that the way of living, the art of living, we all can take from that. And I guess in that same way we can take it from academia, from Dark Academia, and sort of like take it with a grain of salt, but cottagecore really does teach you to bring you back to your roots and bring you back into a more relaxed, peaceful, good version of yourself. Kindness is a huge part of just all of that, so there's something to learn there. I saved this one for last specifically because I am mainly a fashion channel, and also because I know it is going to be the hardest one for me to decide and grade which I want more and which I love more. So it is the fashion of the two. It is the fashion of the cottagecore, which this dress is from Princess Polly, and it is the fashion of the Dark Academia. So I'm going to start again with cottagecore and really talk to you about the patterns that really go into cottagecore and the colors that go into it, and then more about like specific styles. So I've talked about how cottagecore really plays on the pastel vibes. It is the whites, it is any color mixed with white. So a lot of the pinks, yellows, browns, very neutral colors. I read on this wiki page that the colors of cottagecore are all colors that you will see in nature. So it's a lot of greens, and any color that you can find a flower in really just ends up being there too. I love that. I love the idea of that. In summer, I am your cottagecore princess because those are my favorite things. If you guys are not new here, I do specifically shy away from black on my channel and wearing black until the fall comes around, just because I do love a good pastel color moment. I think it's soft on the eyes and it just attracts your eye when you're wearing them. The patterns you really see are gingham, some sort of florals, a lot of just light embroidery, and fabrics are a lot more lighter, airy, poofy sleeves and flowy dresses. A lot of people do layering, loose fit clothing, a lot of skirts, overalls, and farming sort of clothes like that as well. So it is very much, oh my god, there's a butterfly flying by the window as I'm talking about this. It's very on brand, wow. And if you are gonna add a specific print to your wardrobe or little embellishments, then I see a lot of embroidery, but embroidery with different woodland creatures, different lockets with a little deer on it, different mushrooms embroidered into the fabric of your hat. and different little details like that. The accessories that come into cottagecore are very much a wicker hat or a wicker bag, very much just things that you would want to have in your garden when you are picking flowers or making flower crowns. Flower crowns itself is an accessory for cottagecore. And then contrasting that, and because fall is right around the corner, this does make me very excited to say it, is the Dark Academia fashion. I will start with the fabrics and the colors. So we really see a lot of tweed here, cashmere, wool. Actually, a lot of the fabrics that I see popularized for Dark Academia. I actually just moved to Edinburgh just 9 months ago. And I find a lot of the stores sell here big tweed jackets, big like cashmere jumpers, the woolly knits. They're so Dark Academia. And I think that if there was a city out there that was the most Dark Academia city out there, maybe Oxford, but I want to say Edinburgh's number one on that. It is the candles in the tall windows and the dark buildings that look like they've just at some point been on fire and lasted through millennium, and I love Edinburgh for that. So the colors then for the fashion side are a lot of darker colors, really in the darker neutral palette. You will rarely see anything other than maybe a burgundy, a dark olive green, or a navy, but you also mainly see the blacks, the grays, and of course every shade of brown out there. Plaid and a sort of tartan blazer is something that I specifically love. In a tweed blazer, there's something about a big blazer with elbow patches that is the most quintessential Dark Academia look you can get. And then as far as the specific outfits go, a lot of them involve turtlenecks. They involve wearing high-waisted things that have a turtleneck tucked into it, a leather belt with a big blazer. A lot of Oxford shoes show up, and really just tight-fitting clothing, but mixed with oversized clothing I find is very Dark Academia. It is little dresses and school skirts. It is sweater vests. It is layering different colored shirts underneath different flowy tops, and very much everything I'm excited for in fall. Guys, now I need to decide between the two, which do I prefer? Because I love both. Like, I am very happy in either of them. I'm very, very, very happy wearing a cottagecore dress, and I am also equally just as happy layering up and wearing a Dark Academia outfit. Which one do I like more? It's also the deciding vote too, so I feel like that kind of makes it harder. Guys, I'm gonna personally say cottagecore. I think a lot of you watching the channel will not be surprised that I say cottagecore because a lot of my outfits are so cottagecore, but guys, I do have a very deep spot in my heart for Dark Academia. You will see a lot more videos now that it is fall time or transitioning into fall time, that you will see a lot more videos that will show that sort of style of things, and then maybe how to make cottagecore a fall thing. Could be a really cool video too. So guys, I guess that this means that in the battle of the aesthetics, cottagecore versus Dark Academia, I have chosen cottagecore as the winner of the two. Of course, let me know what you would pick for the battle and for each of the three categories, for the hobbies and lifestyle, for the movies and literature, and then finally for the fashion. Obviously, my opinion is of my own, and I'm intrigued what everyone else's opinion is. I'm not gonna, if someone's like, no, what you said was wrong, then that is of their own opinion. You guys get to choose what you prefer. That's the fun of liking things. You know, if we all liked the same thing, then that would be very boring. So guys, let me know what aesthetics you want to see next. It doesn't matter if they're popular aesthetics or not. I am very into, is it romanticore? Is that what you would call it? And very into just like the weird one-off angel core and like the aesthetics that like take like there's little subcategories. I really vibe with those sort of things. So let me know what you want to see for another video like this, or if you even do want to see another video like this, I'm very open. So thank you guys for watching. Like this video if you like this video, subscribe if you feel like subscribing, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.